Wasn't really sure how to start this video, so I'm just going to jump right into it. I haven't really talked about the media much lately, but I should have known that that wouldn't last long. So there was this article published in Mother Jones the other day by Josh Harkinson, and the irony is quite hilarious in my opinion, but I'll get back to that in a minute. The article starts by talking about the rise of alt-right leaders and agitators. In particular, it talks about Based Stickman. In fact, even though I've heard a little about Based Stickman, I actually learned a lot more from this article than I had previously known. You might even say that Josh Harkinson is giving Based Stickman and the alt-right a platform. But in all fairness, I don't think this article really gives a platform to the alt-right. I think it was meant to give people insight into something that they see as their enemy, and this makes perfect sense. After all, the old saying goes, keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer. But the thing is, the author doesn't seem to know who he should count among his enemies. At one point, the article says, the crowdfunding model is also increasingly popular among the far-right's independent media personalities, especially as advertisers have fled YouTube over concerns about appearing alongside offensive content. Among the most successful is former Young Turks personality Dave Rubin. What the fuck are you talking about? Dave Rubin. Dave fucking Rubin. You somehow thought Dave Rubin is a far-right personality? Did you even do your fucking research? Dave Rubin is about as right-wing as Mother Jones is right-wing. So if you don't know who Dave Rubin is, he has a YouTube channel called The Rubin Report where he interviews people about mostly political and social issues. Unlike most personalities, however, Dave isn't afraid to interview people who disagree with him. However, I would have to say that as much as I like The Rubin Report, it often comes off as going too easy on the guests in my opinion. But if you did any amount of research, you would know that The Rubin Report also interviews liberals, and Dave Rubin often expresses liberal values. So I have to wonder, which was it? Did you not do your research, or did you just not care that you were lying? Look, I get that getting all the details perfect can be difficult, but come on. They did manage to add an update to the article, but this was a long shot from correcting the mistake that it made. The update states that Rubin objected on Twitter to being labeled far-right, writing, I'm gay married, pro-choice, against death penalty, pro-pot legalization. The update was right alongside another person who was mentioned in the article and says she is not alt-right but American nationalist, which in the interest of accuracy may have been a necessary update as well, but putting these two updates together as one seems highly misleading. The difference between alt-right and American nationalist, whatever the difference even is, we can be sure it's a shit ton of a lot less than the difference between Dave Rubin's views and the far right. But aside from that, the update wasn't to say, hey, we looked into it and it turned out we didn't know who Dave Rubin was, and we made a snap judgment and we were wrong. No, instead it simply gives a tweet of Rubin defending himself and gives readers little reason to take him seriously. I mean, if Donald Trump tweeted that he was a liberal, no one would believe him. But it's not really the same thing because Donald Trump's policies have shown to be mostly conservative. But watching the Rubin Report, where he talks to liberals, makes it extremely easy to see where he falls on the political spectrum. And at the most extreme, he could be viewed as centrist, slightly to the right. But I think even that would be a stretch. They also took away the word far, so the article now only calls Rubin a right-wing personality instead of a far-right personality. So it seems the only way in which it could be said that he is right-wing is that he's giving a platform to right-wingers. But this misses the point, since he also gives a platform to many liberals, some who aren't even taken seriously by the majority of liberals, people like Ayaan Hirsi Ali, for instance. And besides, if someone can be called right-wing for giving a platform to right-wingers, well then, sorry to tell you, Josh Harkinson, but that would make you an alt-right journalist, because you have been doing much the same thing. Your article gives Based Stickman a chance to explain himself and even shows a more human, off-camera side of him. How is that not giving a platform to the alt-right? To some extent. But don't get me wrong, I'm not actually saying that writing an article about the alt-right is a bad thing. I think we should always be discussing ideas and especially difficult topics. But this is the irony I was talking about. You labeled Dave Rubin as far-right, seemingly because he gives them a platform, but then you also give them a platform. So then you too are far-right by that definition. If Josh Harkinson rejects the conclusion that he is alt-right for giving them a platform, then he should have no problem seeing that Dave Rubin isn't far-right. And I think a bigger correction than just a small update about Dave defending his liberal values is necessary. I just don't even know what else to say. Dave Rubin is a far-right extremist. I mean, look at his views on capitalism. He thinks we shouldn't become a communist regime. How fascist of him. Everyone knows all true liberals are communists. Duh. And what a real piece of work. Sitting there like he understands the oppression people have to go through every day. He could never understand that. It's not like he has ever had to deal with homophobia or anything. But in all seriousness, the only real good part of the article was the end, where it said, less than 3 hours later, Chapman complained on Facebook that his personal account had been suspended after he shared a meme of Muhammad getting it in the stink from Palestinian political activist Linda Sarsour. I couldn't find the meme on Google, but it can be found on Base Stickman's Twitter. But honestly, I think the description in Mother Jones is actually funnier than the meme itself. So the thing that bothers me the most about all this is that while Dave Rubin has some popularity on YouTube, Mother Jones and other mainstream media outlets have way more reach and way more resources at their disposal. So fighting back can be a difficult challenge, especially when the readers are already convinced that they know the truth. So they never actually try and understand the person's point of view because they think they already know what kind of person they're dealing with. But if they hadn't been lied to by someone they see as a reliable source, then they may be more open-minded about the situation and actually listen to the person and judge for themselves. And so I have to sit here and wonder, as much as I don't like Trump and I think he's doing a shitty job, how can I trust the media's coverage of him? They can't even get Dave Rubin's views right. Why would I expect them to do any better with the political enigma that is Donald Trump? And of course, this is the whole problem with the media lying to begin with. It creates distrust. And so even if it's only a minority of journalists, the ones who are doing it are ruining the reputation of the media outlets themselves. And for the ordinary person, telling the difference between an article written with real time and thought put into it can be indistinguishable from a hit piece unless you already know enough about the subject, or until you actually do the research for yourself. But if you have to always fact-check the media on every little thing, then what's the point of the media? I mean, we shouldn't have blind trust in them anyway. We should still fact-check. But if we have absolutely no trust, then we have no reason to even believe anything that they have to say. And so reading the article would mostly just be a waste of time. So when Trump talks about fake news and the mainstream media tries to call him out for delegitimizing a constitutionally protected right to a free press, I have to disagree. The mainstream media has already delegitimized itself long before Trump ever ran for president, and has shown just how irrelevant they are. All Trump had to do was point it out and benefit from the results. That's not Trump's fault. That's the fault of the media outlets who are hiring people who intentionally write this kind of garbage because they know it gets them views. The mainstream media hit pieces are the conspiracy theories of the left. Not that the right is the exclusive holder of conspiracy theory beliefs, but the same way that InfoWars and Fox News make a living convincing people of shit that didn't happen and for which there's little to no evidence. The mainstream media on the left does the same thing, only instead of elaborate collusion between secret groups, they project views on people who don't hold those views. Because just like most conspiracy theories, which end up being unprovable and untestable, the views someone holds are also unprovable and untestable. No matter how many times I express certain values, someone can simply say that I'm being misleading and lying about how I truly feel. But of course their claim will be without merit and unprovable, because how can anyone else say for sure what I truly believe? And so, if they've already convinced their audience of my intention, how can I ever prove them wrong? The simple answer is that I cannot. There is nothing I can do to prove my intentions except to be consistent in my views and stand up for what I really believe. But people who don't follow my work won't actually know any of that, and after hearing horrible things about me, probably won't care to listen. So in much the same way that the far-right personalities benefit off of made-up stories and bullshit while selling ads, the mainstream media on the left does the exact same thing. They make unsubstantiated and unverifiable claims that can't be proven or disproven to get as much attention as possible to sell as many ads as possible. And so even though there are some journalists with integrity, the publications they work for have been giving too much attention to profit and not enough to the truth, which has put more emphasis on the bullshit that makes money and less on the important topics that are backed up with facts, which leaves hardworking, honest journalists in the same boat as the rest of us. And so we have to be careful not to assume all journalists are like that. So at this point, the only difference I can see between what Josh Harkinson did and what Alex Jones does is that at least Alex Jones admitted he's a troll. I doubt we'll ever get that level of honesty from Harkinson. But go ahead and prove me wrong. Correct your mistakes and show us that you aren't just in this for the views. Show that you actually care about journalistic integrity, And if you do, I will gladly take back what I said. But I'm not expecting that to happen. In the meantime, I guess I'll keep waiting, but I'm not going to hold my breath. So, what do you think? Will the mainstream media ever stop with their attacks and mischaracterization of personalities in the alternative media? Let me know what you think by leaving a comment. You can also subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and you can rate this video. And you can also follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm the Questioning Accountant. Thanks for watching, and remember, never stop questioning.